as far as this show or this podcast with Fred leaving, how do you feel about it, man? Like I'm sure the vibe is not the same because those two guys took a chunk, not 50%. I say more like 78%, man. And Chad is
Yeah.
about 15%.
No,
So
no, I'm glad you asked. Because I think the first time I realized that something was up was like early January, like the 6th of January, something like that, right? And then I remember seeing, I think it was Pivot podcast, right?
yep.
And then I was like, and it hadn't come out yet, or it was like coming out, it was a teaser or whatever. And I was like, is that a different podcast? And I know that Ocho had talked about another podcast. I was like, maybe that's Ocho's podcast, and I never heard of it. And then I found out, oh damn, it's a split up. And I think the next thing I noticed was like something made me say, let's go back and look at some old episodes, right? I started looking at old episodes, and then I was like, I knew something was up, something was changing, like all that NASCAR stuff that the
Yeah.
episodes that they did. I watched, I think, two of them, right? And then I started every time a NASCAR one came up, I stopped. I stopped watching it, right? And it just changed. It was changing the flavor of the show. And then another thing I looked at was I looked at all the views, right? Like the the Deion Sanders, I am athlete interview was like millions of views, right?
Yeah.
And then the NASCAR one was like 10K. And I'm like, what? And obviously Deion, that's the high ceiling, right? But your average NASCAR was like real low. And I was like, and I remember like back in November, I was like, why is all this NASCAR? What is this? Right? So apparently, maybe you know better than I. That was some kind of deal that Brandon Marshall was making to like make a certain to like bring up NASCAR or collab with NASCAR.
There's some sort of business venture going on because
Yeah,
what I find out, a lot of these athletes is starting to own their own cars, their own crew now.
right.
So I think Kamara from the Saints, he has his own now. And he showed up like, yo, I never thought about going to a racetrack. I've never certainly thought about it, but so I think there's more athletes putting money into it, which helps the sport as well.
Yeah,
So I think there's something going on as like a business venture going
yeah.
down the
No,
line
I get that, and
with
I
Marshall.
can respect the entrepreneurship of if it's Brandon Marshall specifically, like trying to
Yeah.
collab with them, and it's
But
maybe
why
an
not
untapped
branch it off though? Why not branch it off as a NASCAR like
right,
with
right. I
different
am NASCAR,
casts?
right? Like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so, but my thing is like he's taking time and effort out of his meat and potato, which is the four of them doing their stuff, and it's a hit. It's like when you watch something that is like a hit, or you're with some people and it's a chemistry. You're like, man, I like this guy. I like this
You
person.
feel it.
That feeling they had it,
Yeah.
right? And then apparently, the business side, they had different ideas because I think Chan and OG Fred was talking about it was locker room talk. So
Yeah.
that was their idea, and they didn't really plan it like you normally do. You just start some stuff like you talk with a bunch of buddies, and you're like, "Hey, we should do a podcast, like us, right? We should do a podcast. We have great conversations. Let's make it a podcast." But it blew up into something that was bigger than they anticipated it being. But since Brandon had the branding, right, and the license and the ownership for the most part, he was taking it in ways that Fred was just not. I don't think Fred, from his words, he wasn't on the business side. It was not their vision, so they pivoted.
Yeah. Pivot is just a perfect name as well, though.
Oh, it's
Just
perfect. It's perfect.
man, it's just amazing how that name is perfect, man. The
It's
Pivot.
great.
You know what's funny? I'll say this: like we're watching an interview they did with Marvin Lewis. When's the last time you heard Marvin Lewis, or when's the last time you said, "I want to hear Marvin Lewis speak"?
Yeah. No.
Probably never,
Mhm.
right? Marvin Lewis' personality is not the craziest, the funniest, but the right questions was asked
Yeah.
of him. I watched this 56 minutes. No problem, no doubts. I was listening because they asked the right questions. It's the
Hey,
way they did it, how they did it, who asked the questions. It didn't have to be funny at all,
how
but
about this?
it was good questions being asked. You got the answers that you didn't expect. And that's what takes you into the locker room. That's why they want that locker room talk, that
Yeah.
locker room feel, because we're not going to go in there and have this conversation. And I'll say this real quick, Gio. It's why I love Noriega and Noriega and Drink Champs. They telling, like, you might hear a song and you're like, yo, I remember that in 92. And you were like, you were vibing to that. But you don't know the story, how that got done, who did
Yeah.
what, who made the calls. These people will tell you how it almost didn't happen. You're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You almost gave that beat to this guy who is trash? So that's the insight. That's the information you love and you kind of connect with. And that's what these guys want, that locker room feel where we're
Yeah.
not going to get a chance to get that type of information in the locker room because we're not there. So I do like the locker room talk. And the locker room talk, people got to understand, it's not just football. It's life.
Yeah.
It's sports. It's money. So you don't have to make it about this specific thing. Conversation can take you there, and that's what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
So I love it,
Feel
man.
like you feel like you're another seat in the couch in the living room, just but just you don't get to talk. You just soak it all up, right?
100%. Yeah.
But did you notice from I am athlete to pivot how much more Fred talks? So you're getting more nuggets. You know what I mean? Like before, he's just laid back. Chan is doing his thing. Ocho will go back and forth with Brandon, right? And then he just hit you with the nugget. Every now and again. Now he's asking questions like, yes, that's all good stuff. You still get the charisma from Chan. You get the more nuggets from OG. And then what do you think about Ryan Clark as the new member in Pivot?
Man, I'll say this, man. I was a Ryan Clark hater, though. I'm gonna be honest. Not some of his takes on ESPN was just like, come on, man. I'll say this. I've watched a lot of Ryan Clark on ESPN. I don't want to say they were focused on, let's say, the black athlete, but there was a lot of times they were just bashing that like a brother for making a mistake. I get it; it's their job. They gotta talk about it. But I've seen the other side where Jeff Saturday was beating his wife, and it was like, oh, it was a mistake. Like what? It was a gloss over type of thing. I didn't like that.
Yeah,
So he Ryan got a few things. I was like, come on, man. Like, eh, I don't know if I like this guy, especially he played for the Steelers too. But I will say though, I don't want to say Ryan is an MVP, but I will say, man, he's a smart dude, man.
oh yeah,
And and I saw an episode where his son was on the show, and when you see the relationship that he has with his kid, man, like it was so dope to see and hear. Because I got a son, and he's like, that's my boy. That's how I look at my kid, man. I got one kid, one son. That's my boy.
hmm
And I love that relationship, man, because I try to have the same type of relationship with mine. And so you get to see him differently without that suit, working for the big machine at
yeah.
ESPN. He's
Answering the correct answers and making the correct statements and
yeah,
kind of just being in the locker room, right, and having
yeah.
those conversations.
Just not being afraid to just have a regular talk. Not
Yeah,
corporate talk like, oh, this guy, I think, averaging this, he makes this money. I think, no, he's just like, hey, man, uh Chan was talking about he got crabs. Like, bro, how did you get rid of crabs? Like, this is not gonna happen on ESPN.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So he comes out of the show. You see Ryan's personality. I think he's a smart guy, and how he asks the questions, I love, man. I
Yeah,
love when he. I think that's his timing. His timing is great.
yeah,
When to kind of inject his thoughts, when to actually push the conversation, like Marshall pushed the conversation forward.
hmm
He knows when to do that, man, and I do like that about him. I think he's an underdog with this podcast, man. I really do, man. I think if it was just Fred and Shannon, I don't know. I think it might be too slow paced.
yeah. Well, yeah, because Chan's got all this energy and he kind of gets a little silly, right? And we would
Mhm.
love that. And then OG is he sits back, things up, soaks up the conversation, and then builds up the nugget, right? And then gives you the nugget. And I think Ryan
Yo,
is
what's
good
the nugget,
still.
man? I don't want people to get confused. What's a nugget? Because in my
Like
world, nugget
like a
is so
gold
many
nugget
things.
is like when someone's dropping dimes, right? Dropping nuggets
Yeah,
of knowledge, right? That golden nugget, that you know what I mean?
it's the
So that's
gems,
what
man.
gems, nuggets, you know? Yeah. So
I
Ryan
just don't
Clark,
want people. I just don't want people to go order a
that's good.
number
Yeah.
9. You know, like yo, I need
You
those.
talk about gold? You got gold? Uh, no, but no, he fits right in between Chan and OG
Yeah,
in being able to push the conversation forward naturally and asking good questions, keeping the conversation rotating, not getting too silly, right? With bringing calling Chan out, you know what I mean? And their banter back and forth. Man, the just a side note, when Chan is cracking on him for having no insides and no guts because he had all surgery.
that's crazy to me, dog.
That
But you know
that
what? But Ryan Cook goes along with it though. But like,
no, he
man,
does. It was great. It was
th-
great.
that's like he said, you
It
got
was
no
great.
gallbladder. You ain't got no
And
kidneys.
then OG was like, "You guys should, go on Trilla and fight." And he goes, "Now you might lose." And he goes, I can take all the body blows. I got no inside. There's nothing in there, but it's fine, nigga.
You know,
But it's
you know
good,
what's
man.
funny?
I like Pivot because Pivot has the same energy as what I Am Athlete had when they had that magic, right? And obviously, it lets you know clearly that the magic was with Chan and OG, right? And that
I agree.
Brandon, I not to knock on I Am Athlete because I still watch it. The video with Shady was great. It was great. The interview with Fat Joe, if you haven't seen it, watch that. I love Fat Joe since whenever, but being able to experience Fat Joe in an environment like that made me appreciate him even more. Right.
Yeah,
So that's what makes these type of podcasts very interesting. It lets you in on the real person of who they are, these entertainers that we see on TV that we want to be like or we emulate or whatever. But man, I got to learn so much about Fat Joe. Like it's crazy. All the great
yeah,
things that he does and the type of person that he is. So they still have it, but they need to have the right people, um, to keep it going. I think Shady would be a great
yeah.
asset to I Am Athlete if he was
Shady's a wild card, man, and
he
it
is,
needs
man.
it.
He's
It
like he's
needs
like
it.
Chan, but it's like in a different kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with
He
his own
brings
flavor, his
he
own
brings the
style.
flavor. Yeah, raw, uncut. He's gonna say something that's like get you
Yeah,
get you get, get you
it's
banned in some places.
it's funny because like just what you just said with the Fat Joe episode when everybody was like, you know what, we're gonna help the chef because they had a chef. He's like, yo,
Yeah,
I'm gonna put 20 grand. Fat Joe's like, well, I'm gonna match you. I'm gonna put 20 grand for her to get uh a nice business going. And McCoy goes, yeah, I'll throw in 5, bro. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that was funny to me.
yeah,
And you know he got it, but he was being real with it though. He was like, it was funny, but he was being real with it. So
yeah,
I think he could be good for that show, man. And here's the funny thing. I love Pivot. I like both, but I like Pivot more, slightly more. Um, but if you go into the comment section, man, which is probably not a place to go, uh, but
I didn't even check
you go to I am athlete comment section. Brandon, let people talk. Brandon, let people talk. Brandon, let people talk. And then it's all about Pivot. I'm like, man, these people are coming here to tell you, yo, the Pivot is doing something good, man. Watch it. There's nothing wrong with, I'm not saying copy it, but like, y'all started this, man.
it. Yeah, he
I
already
love
had the
I Am
formula.
Athlete because it was so clean. I love the cleanliness of it. And like, let me say, the brothers being professional. I love that, man.
Yeah,
I love the fact it's not this ratchet crap. Say what y'all want to say.
yeah,
I just love the cleanness of it. The way they interact, the way the stuff that they talk about.
yeah. The content, yeah.
I love it, man.
So
So, but the comment section is a dangerous place. But yeah, when you go to I Am Athlete, all they talk about is pivot. I'm like,
yeah,
bro,
here,
these guys got something, man.
look. If you haven't heard it anywhere else, And if they use this, just send me a little bit of cash for introducing some suggestions to I Am Athlete, right? You know how they're doing I Am Athlete Miami right now, right?
Yep.
So what I would think that would be good, it will multiply their get them back on track to where they were, right? So you got Brandon, right? And then you got, I like Jared, right? Jared's kind of like, he's kind of like OG, right? He's very interesting in the way he does that. Like his conversation's real quiet, he's really intellectual, like he's on a whole nother level of stuff, right? And then the other thing is, so him, Jared, Ocho, right? And then I know Ocho goes in and out and does other things, and that's fine, right? But the other stuff would be like they're in Miami right now, right? So while they're in Miami, why not have a special guest from Miami, like a Dolphin, right? Or a Heat player, right? So either, you know what I'm saying? Like bring somebody that from one of those
Bring
teams.
Jimmy Butler. You
Yeah,
get content.
right. So like
That
they're
dude is content.
and they can do that for a week, right? I don't know. They usually have like what 15 episodes or something like that, right? So if they're gonna do 5 episodes in Miami, Jimmy Butler for one. You bring in um
Penny
a, rap,
Hardaway, Orlando,
a rapper, right? A Miami rapper, Rick Ross.
305.
Rick Ross
305.
for an episode. He's a guest and a host, right? And then the next 5 episodes, you're in LA, right? And then when you're in LA, get some players from, bring Odell Beckham on because he's in LA. He's
Oh,
at home. Do it at his house, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then,
yeah.
5 more episodes, do it in New York. You know what I'm saying? Do that.
I do like that house thing. I don't know
Yeah,
why. I like it. Like
yeah.
when
They
they
did
did
it
with
at
Parson.
Pivot did it at Parsons' house.
Yeah, I like that, dude.
And they're
Are, are,
comfortable.
are we are we bandwagon right now? Like on a pivot? Like I actually for a second I thought it was I
I'm a
am
fan
Athy
of
who
both.
did that, but you're right.
I'm a fan of both. Stop NASCAR. Nothing against NASCAR, but it ain't what got y'all where you got. You don't start a burger joint and then all of a sudden when you get rich make hot dogs and stop making burgers. You just don't do that.
Bro, Michael
Next
Irvin
year,
popped up. Michael Irvin popped up.
yeah, just showed
That's
up.
how you get Dallas in Dallas.
Yeah,
Bro, to me, to me, that was so dope when Michael Irvin popped up. I was like, yo, this is
yeah.
how you get
Michael Irvin
Dallas
just
in
him in
Dallas.
Dallas just shows up at your house. No big
Bro,
deal.
that's crazy, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think what you said was kind of cool. I know this is close to an hour of just talking about this podcast, but listen, man, we're here to give our thoughts, like it or not. That's just what it is. It could be funny some days it maybe not. These are just genuine feelings. These are conversations that always happens anyway, whether it's Geo and I talking on the phone or Geo's talking to Eddie and Hebron in a party. This conversation happens anyway. We're not trying to force funny. This is us. We like conversation. So take it how you guys want to take it. That's what makes podcasts actually cool because you could choose not to support it, look at it, watch it. It's up to you. But I will say one thing, Gio. You said you want to hear what's the big guy's name again? Just Jared.
Yeah,
You said you want to hear more from Jared.
yeah.
Who did you say that about before they left? The two guys.
Talking about
Fred,
OG. Yeah,
OG.
yeah.
Isn't
You
the
say,
same thing happening again? You got to learn from it. You got to
yeah.
know what you have. You know what I mean? Like even in the comment section, which I say it comment section, you got to go in there with shields because you don't know if you can come out of it. Because somebody like these guys who's got big following, man, if you take those comments to the heart, man, it'll break you, man.
Oh, and I can look. I can imagine. I just from watching I'm Athlete and being a fan and getting to see who they really are, right? Uh, it's not only I know for a fact that it's hurting and Brandon Marshall, right? In
I
in a
think
way,
so
his
too.
boys they're like, oh, we're still cool. I get that you're still cool, but like
Yeah.
when you go to the comments and knowing the way that he was as as a player and how he's emotional, kind of like that,
Oh
like
no, he reads it.
he's reading it.
Oh, he
He's
said it on
taking
the
that
show.
line. That meme of what's his name? The comedian that does um I don't can't remember. I'm losing my train of thought.
I
He
can't.
does Anchorman.
Will Farrell.
Will Ferrell. You know that meme of him crying in a wine glass.
Oh yeah. No, no, but
That's that's Brandon Marshall reading the comments on I'm Athlete.
yeah, he's got a blanket. Just no, because he
Yeah.
said, "Hey man, the people said I need to let people talk."
Hey,
Okay.
knowing is half the battle. You still have to like execute and
True.
do the thing, right? So you got to give him time because
Yeah.
he's been doing that his whole life, right?
Hundred
But I'll
percent.
still watch. I'll still watch I Am Athlete. I still watch it when it comes out. Um, as
People
long as they
want to love.
bring Shavy
People
in,
want to stay. People want to support, man. Like the
it
comments,
was
people
good,
want
man.
to support.
Because here's the thing. This is what's great. If I get an hour of I Am Athlete and I get an hour of Pivot, I'm watching both.
I'm good. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I don't want to watch one and be like, nah. It's not like PlayStation, Xbox. Whoa. You know what I mean? I'm
We'll
gonna
we'll
watch.
save that for Friday, man. Stop.